welcome to a Little Tom Foolery, Rob Little and Tommy Ryman. A podcast filled with laughs and gaffs, guffaws and haws, and maybe a picture of a dog. A little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery. A little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery. Fools!
Good morning, good day, and good evening. Welcome to a Little Tom Foolery. I'm your host, Rob Little, with our other host, Tommy Ryman. We are so excited for today. We got some little surprises for you guys. But Tommy, good day to you, buddy. How's everything going?
Things are going well. I had a fun weekend. I was in Omaha and in Colorado this weekend. The shows at Omaha were fantastic. Got to see some of my favorite staff members there, and Colorado Springs was great too. How about you?
Well, I want to elaborate more on Omaha. I mean, that's usually our stomping ground together. And I mean, you had to be lonely without me, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I do fine on my own without
No,
you there.
no, you don't.
Yeah, they're all kind of like, boy, this show got so much better without that other guy.
Probably
more Tommy. They were such a fun crowd. It was good. We only had about 75 on a Thursday, but Colleen was pretty happy with that. But
that you just did Thursday, that's it?
Yeah, I routed it on the way because Colorado Springs was only doing Friday, Saturday. So I asked her if I could do a Thursday, and that's what we did.
How is Colorado Springs? I've never been there.
Looney's is fun. I like that club.
I've heard it's really fun.
Yeah. Paul Hooper, our guy, he does Looney's, so he's a good. Eric, the owner and runner of that, he's just super nice and fun. But
he there's a new club in town there too, 3 E's or something.
Mm-hmm.
And are they saying anything about that?
I didn't really bring it up because I mean, the local kids some of them work there and his club, so that's nice that they're supporting them. But you basically, if you're going to headline, you'd pick one or the other.
My week, I did a benefit in Iowa, and it was for Definitely Dog, spelled DEAF. And they had me do a bunch of little meet and greets with at some like bar restaurants around town, and everybody brought dogs and stuff. So you would have loved it. Cool. There was somebody there with a Great Dane, big old black Great Dane.
Fun.
And then one lady was trying to get me to take her English Bulldog, and I was like, I will take it.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't really know what happened, because I thought I gave her my information and said, hey, if it doesn't, because they weren't sure what they were going to do with it. They had to get rid of it because they had 3 kids now, and they couldn't take care of the dog. And I was like, you picked the wrong option. You should have picked the dog over the kids. I mean, but so I did 2 shows for them, and it was good. It was not what we were hoping for, but it's also, they did it downtown, and as we're in this big theater, it has open windows all the way around it, and as we're waiting, like this humongous outdoor concert starts up right outside, and I was just like, could we have any more like things going against us right now?
Just like
there was an outdoor concert in this park right across the street, and then there was 3 bars with music right around it, and then we were in the top floor of this theater. It was we didn't know what it was like. They didn't know that was all going on when they booked this. So
great.
But anyways, it was fun, and I got to meet some really cool people and play with dogs for a few days.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, our guest, he was in and out, and now he's back in. He's getting restless.
Okay.
So we should probably admit him here.
Let's bring him in.
Welcome in. But yeah, today we get a fun interview, a very super funny comedian, Paul Hooper.
Paul Hooper.
There he is. I hear Paul.
Can you see me?
I can see you and hear you.
Is it ridiculous?
No, it looks good.
You do look like you have a little red tint there to you.
It's a fucking ring light. That's this.
No, it's your tan. It's your
it might be a little tan, but no.
Who's got a red ring light?
I don't know. Let me tell you this. My ex-girlfriend gave me this, and I haven't figured out how to work it. So I don't know what it is. It does look like a tanning bed. There's other options, but I'm stupid.
You know, Paul, what I know of you is exactly how I would picture your place to look behind you.
Oh, just plain?
Nothing on the
Nothing.
walls. I ain't
No
got
art.
time for that. I ain't got
No, nothing on the walls. That's it. And
All right.
that's the cleanest corner of the room, you know. So the rest of it's hoarding.
We are excited to have you, Paul Hooper. To me, one of the most unique and funniest guys I have seen in years. I cannot brag you up enough. And when Tommy said we could try to get you on, I was like freaking excited.
You're both one of our favorites, so we're excited that you would come on A Little Tom Foolery, one of the best podcasts in the world. So
That's right.
it's worth your
man.
time.
Thank you. I love you guys, man. I appreciate it.
So where are you living now?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's right. That's right. And aren't you originally from the East Coast, right?
I'm originally from here. So I lived in New York for 10 years, but I started comedy, born and raised here, started comedy here, and then went to New York and then came back during this whole lockdown pandemic thing. And, you know,
Nice.
I don't know where I'm going next, but this is my hometown. Yeah.
That's what that's what I thought. When you lived in New York, what years were you there? Because I was trying
2011 to the December of 2020. So almost 10 years exactly.
Oh, so you were there when I lived there too. I think we talked about this a little bit.
I think we messaged, and like you messaged me, like I'm in town, and then we never got up, and then you were gone.
Yeah. Rob lasted in New York 3 months. So the people, whenever he asks, how long were you there? And people are like, oh, like 10, 15. He was like, I was there. Like it always overlaps, but rarely did anybody see him.
Dude, in hindsight, I wish I'd stayed 3 months.
I stayed 11 and a half months with Tommy, not 3.
No, yeah, you were there for years. I was only in LA for 5 years. So.
I almost made it a year. That was rough. That was rough there. 10 years. But I was watching your Gotham the other night, and I love that you came out. Like, we're supposed to shoot that and be clean during it, weren't we?
That was okay. You could say anything there because it was live, and it was on that Access TV, so it was uncensored.
Right. And I love you got
David Hasselhoff.
Yes, Mr. Baywatch. And then he screws up your intro. He does your intro after he says your name.
Dude, there was like a time we were all super worried that because during the little rehearsal or whatever, that he was going on stage, like, let's go run through this. He would just do your intro and then just stand there. And then no one was telling him, like, hey, dude, you got to leave the stage. And no one would tell him not to. And so we're like, what are we going to do once this goes? Like, this is going to be live. So I was third. I'm like, first two comics, that's sort of when I go on stage, you can see me sort of half high five and turn my shoulder to him. I'm sort of like, please leave. Please leave.
Get off the stage, Hasselhoff.
And then he just does it in slow motion while he's like he's running.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. A character, and he's so tall. You see the picture of like him next to me? I don't know.
Yeah,
he's a regulation side man.
Yeah, I would pay. I want my next special just to have David Hasselhoff stand behind me. So I'm surprised you made him get off the stage because I would have liked him just back there.
I'm sure he needs the money now, man. So I'm sure he would do it. Discounted rate.
Yes. Now, Paul, do you remember the first time we met? Do you know that?
No. Sorry.
It wasn't memorable.
He says that to me too, Paul. Like, I didn't remember him the first time we met either.
Yeah, I didn't have an impact on anybody's life, but it was you were supposed to be at the Joke Joint in might have even been at the old location, but it was at the audition for Last Comic Standing when it was Andy Kindler, Natasha, and Greg Giraldo. Because they were like, oh yeah, Paul's not here yet. He's out there too. Or for some reason they're like, there's this guy, Paul, that's supposed to be here. he's super nice, blah, blah, blah. So then I think I introduced myself to you in the line, and like, are you Paul Hooper? And you're like, who are you? Why are you talking to me?
Oh, at Last Comic Standing in New York.
Yeah. And then I didn't move on. I don't know did you move on to the evening?
Oh.
Yeah, I think we both didn't go on. And then I was like, well, I'll see you, because you're going to fly to Minneapolis the next day, unless that blew up or whatever. And then I think I met you that weekend at the joke joint.
That was a rough one, because I don't remember that, because Ken at the joke joint let me out of one night of shows. So I did the Thursday, flew to New York Friday to do it Saturday morning, and then fly immediately back to get the 2 shows on Saturday. And then didn't get the call back, no sleep, frustrated. And then also my flights got delayed. I got stuck in Chicago on the way back, missed the first show. It was one of those real comedy days where everything went wrong and you're like questioning everything, because it was a rough one. No sleep, disappointed or pissed off, whatever.
See, that's weird, because I thought you would go through that and be like, but you know what? I met that weird kid with glasses. And it's
sorry.
There's a bright side to every story.
You're the bright spot in that day. I'm sorry I don't remember it, but you are absolutely the best thing to come out of that day. Absolutely.
I was trying to remember the first time we met, but I think it had to be a Yoder gig, and it was back in your drinking days, I think, right?
Yeah, we met, I think, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. A feature for you, and I don't know if it was a Funny Bone or a Nitwits, but it was Sioux Falls.
Wow. See, Tommy, I don't remember that at all. I was gonna say it was Toledo Connections for some reason.
No, we never did that. I remember that. I mean, we did 4 days together, so I can sort of remember that. I mean, I was drinking at that time, but we weren't hanging out a ton, but I do remember, because we were there 4 days in Sioux Falls.
That would have been when Michelle was running it, or was it? Do you remember?
I don't know that.
Yeah. I just remember them being super cool, and their husband was in a band or something.
Yeah.
But that one was
right.
That was yeah, because Colleen used to book it.
Yeah.
Colleen from Omaha.
Okay.
You do them back to back.
I think she was still booking. I think it's my first time there at feature, because I think I did Omaha, and I remember them talking about you. They loved you, and they're like, you go work with Rob Little. So I think it might have still been a Funny Bone. And I did Omaha first and drove up and did that the next. And it was freezing. It was like a December in Sioux Falls. It was brutal. I was drunk the whole time.
I don't really remember you being super. When you told me you were really bad, you had the problem or whatever you want to say that you did. I just remember you being fun. I don't remember you being like a huge drunk at all or any of that kind of stuff. I'm trying not to say it be offensive. I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but
no, there was this one time. So at the last night of the week, I don't know how much I can tell, but it's like we went to a party. Some people invited us to a house party the last night in Sioux Falls. It was a group of people way out in the outskirts. I don't know where we ended up. I remember you went with us, and then they were just sort of maniacs more than me. I'm a weird group of people. And you were at some point you came in for like 20 minutes, like, I've got an early flight. You guys have dude. I was with people all night.
I don't remember that at all. Wow. That had to have been a horrible party for me to leave.
You were like, I've listen, nice to meet you. I gotta go, early flight. You know how it is. And I'm like, all right, working with you, man. And then I was stuck with those people till the next morning. They had to drive me back to the condo.
Oh
no way.
Yeah.
That was the condo I bought a basketball for. I remember, because there was a basketball hoop right outside of it. Oh my God, dude. I'm sorry for leaving you. I feel bad.
No, I feel we're smart to leave. I should have gone with you. And you were right to bail 100%.
Paul was like, I want at least 20 more minutes with these maniacs, so I'm going to stay and then we'll see what happens. And he's like,
I mean, they're probably giving you drinks, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. They broke into there was strip poker. It got wild there.
Did it really?
Yeah, it got pretty wild. They were like house sitting with their grandparents.
Oh my God. I don't remember
Nice.
that. Oh, well, obviously I don't remember. I didn't go. That is awesome.
Yeah, we were playing strip poker and their grandparents were in Disney World. And then so I'm just in this drunken haze at some point, and the living room had floor to ceiling like mirrors. And then it was just this carpet, and I mean, it's just this wild, unhinged party. And I just remember, what am I? I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with these strangers in their grandparents' house. I'm like, one of those, like, what a life I'm leading here.
I love that you remember that so vividly. Yet Tommy's hoping you remember him in line.
Yeah, but I was just a wholesome kid. There was no party, you know. And I'm sure he remembers.
You're a party
like,
on your own, Tommy. You're
like
a fun party.
If we both went and stood at Gotham again, it would hit him, and he'd be like, "Oh man, this core memory, it's happening."
Deja vu of it. I know. I'm sorry. I remember seeing you a ton in Minneapolis. I remember those joke joint days and seeing you a ton then, and you doing spots all the time. And
yeah, that's when I really met you. Was because I think I might have even said 2 words like, "Oh, I heard you're going to the joke jam after this." And you're like, "Yep, okay, maybe I'll see your show." I can't remember.
I hope I wasn't
then we
rude.
played strip poker with Andy Kindler. That's why we both didn't get on, because we were like, "Come on, judges, let's play a real game of chance."
By the way, Kindler was the only one that was nice to me that day. He was the only judge. Geraldo was a dick to me. Natasha's Leggero was mean, and then he was super nice to me.
No, that's how they had it teamed up, because that happened to me, because Natasha was the first to say no, and then Greg was like, "Yeah, they would always say you're not ready." That was a nice way of them being like, for whatever. And then Kindler was just like, "Oh man, I wish I could, but they already
That's
two,
the same thing that happened to me with those 3.
Yeah.
So one of them I always play, but I was like, you could fight, you could change one of them. I don't know why you're all hands are tied all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Geraldo said to me, he goes, "I bet you kill on the road, but I don't know if this is right for the show." And I was like,
me too. And then Leggero said something. She goes, "You make me nervous." And I'm like, "What? Why? How?" And she's like, "I don't know, but no." And that was it. And then he said, "Oh, you might, I'm sure this works on the road, but here, I don't know. It's a good."
He did say that?
Yeah, it's almost the exact same thing. And then Kindler, it's like, "I disagree. I'd like to hear more of it." And then someone else spoke up like, "You already have 2 no's. So sort of doesn't matter what he says. Goodbye. Right. Thanks." And I'm like, oh man.
That must have been their MO that whole season.
Yeah, I hated it. It was a bad day, but whatever.
But that's why we got into comedy, was to be in televised contests.
Yeah.
4.
Doing 2 minutes in front of no one.
Yeah, you want to do that
contest,
and then you want to do a showcase with David Hasselhoff just kind of breathing behind your neck.
The highlight career. That's it.
Now, I know you. Do you consider you're in North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually coming there tomorrow. I'm playing Beach Mountain.
Oh, that's like a ski resort?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a resort. Another comedy club owner booked me at. But I'm flying into Tri-Cities.
Oh God, you're flying into like Johnson City, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then you must be way up near the state line of North Carolina and Tennessee.
I think so. It's like an hour from that airport.
Yeah, that's like 2 or 3 hours from here. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. But
so you're not gonna come over, is what I'm saying.
I gotta be the other side of the state, but
I couldn't hear you. Went out on us.
I'm going to Fayetteville tomorrow.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
So we worked together, Tommy. I don't know if I told you about this, but we worked together. Paul and I did in Florida just not that long ago at the new Side Splitters venue. It's a movie theater, and you perform in one of the movie theaters.
Nice.
Yeah. What did you think of that, Paul?
You know what? I like that room. I'm going down to do it again. I just booked it again for July to go do it. But there was a room like that in Rhode Island, and people would always say it was weird and stuff. I don't know. I have a good experience with movie theater gigs. I think because it's like stadium seating and the light's good. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was definitely different. It was weird when people had to get up and leave because they were like, "Excuse me, pardon me." Excuse me. They just moving down the row and stuff. Yeah. And then there was like this orchestra pit to the left of the stage. Oh, yeah. I was like, I know I'm gonna fall in there eventually, but it was fun. That was a fun one. And it was awesome seeing you again there. And then I was here. I heard you on something else talk about a comedy club owner, like telling you you had to leave or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? You were doing I guess you weren't hitting with the audience in the South somewhere. And I'm
Was
just
this
like,
Birmingham Story?
yes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that was a rough one. Hey, that's the worst gig I've done ever.
Worst ever. All right.
Not
Can
the
you
worst.
tell it?
Yeah, sure. Because it was like Birmingham's a nice room aesthetically, and but I went there and I'd done it for years, and so this was 2012. It's about 10 years ago. I was headlining like a Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that on my way somewhere else.
Okay.
And so the Wednesday night I go in, I'd done the room before, and it's 400 people in there. You know, they pack it in, but it's like telemarketed, like it's free ticket. And so I remember the MC went up and pretty much danced and did okay, and had like some and did okay, but pretty good for that. The feature, who I know is a good dude, but he had a lot of like pot jokes, but pretty like right down the middle pot jokes, and he just did okay, which made me go, I mean, that's not hitting, but whatever. And and then I went up, and it was even tighter, but I'm like, this is tight. There's a delay in this room. It's so big. It's like a theater. I have to slow down. Just take your time. First 10 minutes were okay. I'm like, if I can get to another 40 of this, we might make it. And then somewhere 12 minutes in, it took a turn. I used to have this joke where I opened with, I think I was molested, but I'm not sure. But I'm pretty excited about it. Anyway, it opened weird. There's this story from childhood. I wasn't molested, but it was about this kid down the street that came down one day, and we were bumping butts. It's this weird story.
Okay.
And then that was enough to set Birmingham off. That confused. It was just too, they didn't know what to make of it. And it was this story. It did okay. And then I lost him there, and then never got him back. The next bit was about coffee, which, so I think they were offended and then bored. And they're like, he's gay. Yeah, we hate him. He's boring. And then I just couldn't get him back. And then they started heckling, and that room's so big, so people in the back would heckle, and you can't see who you're talking to.
Sure.
Just sort of chaos. And oh man, I made it to 47 minutes. It was brutal for, fucking 30 something minutes of that, and made it to 47. I remember passing the MC. I'm like, when he took the stage, I'm like, I hope I get fired.
You're like, I don't want to do that again.
I'll be fired. I went to the green room, and the general manager, a guy named Tony, who I love, came down. He had a cell phone. He's like, Bruce, the owner wants to talk to you, and handed me the phone.
That
like,
fast?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, within a minute or two, enough for me to sit in a chair and like curse a bit for a bit, like, Jesus, what was that? Take a breath, and he's like, hey, Bruce wants to talk to you. and so I
was he watching on like cameras or something?
I don't know if he just heard everybody was reporting back, like, a bunch of people walked and stuff. And
well, how much of jerks would the manager and the staff be like, hey, you got to call, this guy is just eating crap right now?
Yeah, dude. And I don't know how it made it, but he wasn't there physically, so he called me, and he's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I do this everywhere. It's fine. These people are morons. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry for creating a disturbance, but I truly don't know what happened. And then, well, if you're going to stay for tomorrow, you got to do different stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to be here tomorrow. Like, all right, I'll pay you for tonight and half of tomorrow. To his credit, half the money for the next night. I'm like, all right, I'll be out of the hotel in the morning. Bye. Sorry, but I don't know.
Wow. Well, so you kind of fired yourself, because it sounds like he was going to give you an opportunity to, he's like, just don't do that boring coffee bit. More butt stuff. Really lean into the
more butt stuff.
More butt. Yeah, and it was wild, and it was like the whole time, because I'd done it for years, so he sort of knew me. Like, I'd featured there a couple of times. He'd be clean for headliners on the weekend, and I'd get through that. But as the years went by, that room got harder for me for some reason. I don't know why. I felt the better I got at comedy, I thought, the harder it got.
That's what I was gonna say. You got better, and so the room got harder because it's very Southern, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lowest common denominator. When I was in my 20s, it was drinking and drugs and talking about women. That's what I did when I was 27. That's what I want to talk about. It was original. I thought I had original thoughts on that, but that's what it was. I'd raised a lot. I was drink on stage, so of course I did better there than when I was sober years later, talking about different stuff. They preferred the earlier version. And I wasn't that So it was, man, it was crazy because there was a guy in the front row of that gig. And so that's like an orchestra pit too at Stardom. And there was a guy in the front row he looked at me. He's like a young dude, like he was trying to help me. And he kept going like, dig out. So he was doing this to me. I'm
my God.
I'm like, and then I'm talking like, I can't dig out these morons. There's nothing that can be done. I'm like saying that. Me just narrating this. And so I went, and at the end of it, I remember when I said, all right, that's it. And I started to walk. He's like he tried to help.
I did the thing. I told him to dig out. He didn't dig out. He kept digging deeper. I don't think he understands holes.
Oh, man. It was awful.
It was awful. Yeah. You said I brought that up, and then you go, oh, well, that's not my worst one. What was your worst one?
That was my worst show that, like, I think at a club that looks good. Like, I've had those gigs, those one-nighters that are disasters. Yeah. Where people have thrown bottles or slapped. I got slapped a couple times. But
did you really?
Yeah.
What? Slapped by a guy or a girl?
Both. One of each. One of each.
Now, I was rushed one time on stage. Somebody rushed the stage, but luckily it was a loony bin, and they had a bouncer that caught the guy before he got to the stage, which out of all the clubs, would you think that one would be the one with the good security?
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, they don't seem like.
I didn't think they would be, but I was pretty happy that they did, because this guy was not happy. But can you remember what you did to get slapped?
Yeah, the one that was the big one was in Charleston, West Virginia. It was like a hotel gig, a Comedy Zone gig. And so, it's a big banquet room, and it was Christmas time. It was a Christmas party. Some kind of company had rented out. They'd been at the indoor pool partying all day, and they just bought up the first few rows of the comedy show. And then there would be a regular crowd behind them. But there was 40 people, 50, 30, at least 30 people in this company party. And they were all hammered. And they took up the first few rows. So the first comic, I was co-headlining with a guy, and he went up, and there's the guy in the front row, the very front row center, had his back to the stage. Oh. And I mean, he's literally 4 inches from him. It's one of the small stages. So it's right there, completely facing backwards and like talking to his friends. And this other comic just autopilot, just did it, didn't address it. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want this fight. And I went up and addressed it immediately. It was weird. It spun a 180. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with your back to everybody at the show? Spun a 180 almost perfectly. Like it was the chair was on a swivel, and then put his heels on the stage with his legs, sort of like a cowboy. And then I sort of like reached or pointed at his dick, or I don't know if he's gonna grab, and he just slapped the shit out of me. I mean, and he flush. I mean, across the ear. I mean, it hurt. It rang my bell pretty good. And then I was like, well, we can fight. Or I was like, in the moment, I'm like, I'll just start berating him and just pointing, and just started screaming at him. And then he was sort of stunned. And then they threw him out. But now I've made an enemy with the rest of the Christmas party. So they all hate me. And so, yeah, they all hate me. And so this goes on. And there's a regular crowd behind them that's just watching this chaos unfold. And so there's like 20 some people. And then I get into it with two girls that are at this Christmas party. They start yelling at me. One of them gets up in a short dress and like moons me because she's wearing a thong. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't, whatever. And just yell at them. And then those two girls and one guy that are heckling me, they leave, and they have to leave around this side. So I cursed them all the way out and I turned back. And as I turned back, the guy grabbed one of the girls' drinks and threw it, and it hit my elbow and shattered, and glass went into the crowd.
Oh no.
So now it's a fight. Now people in the back, the regular crowd, some of their wives got hit by glass. So now those guys are coming up to fight. Now it's full on, have to get off stage. And we got off stage. He went up and was just literally dancing and panicking. And then we just stopped the show for a minute, got 30 people out, or however many, called the cops. Because manager's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, call the cops. She's like, you want to press charges? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, I do. And got them all out. The people in the back moved up. I did 20, 30 more minutes for them. They were great.
I can't believe you kept going.
Yeah.
After the smack, I would have been like, I think the show's probably over. You're like, I got another tight 50 to do.
I want to finish it. You know what I mean?
I can't believe this one.
I'd all staged to the cops, and the cops were just like holding them outside, the first guy outside. And then they were like, the cops were pretty much talking me out of it. They were just like, you want to press charges? I'm like, yeah, I do. They're like, well, where do you live? I'm like, I live in North Carolina. And they're like, well, you're going to have to come up and go to court. And I'm in my head, I was just in a blur of it. And they were really like, just let it go. And I'm like, can I get in trouble if I press charges and don't show up? And so I was like, fuck it, just get them out of the hotel. Just get them out of here. And that's what they did. Threw them out.
Oh my God. I can't believe you got smacked, then mooned, which seems like it might have been okay. Then then a bottle whipped at you and it shatters on your elbow. How strong is your elbow, by the way?
It hurt pretty bad, but
I can't imagine.
Who did you want to press charge against? The slap, the moon, or the glass thrown?
Yeah.
Because that's like 3 different court dates too.
Like the first guy. And then also, by the way, I was friends with the general manager, the girl that ran the club and the hotel. And she said the next year that company contacted the owners of the hotel, like, we're going to do a Christmas party again. They're like, oh. She's like, no, they assaulted a comedian. You can't. They were just like, whatever, it's money. We don't care. Let them kill everybody.
They're like, it's what they want to do for their Christmas party.
Wow.
It's hurt somebody.
Jim's gonna be sitting backwards again.
Yeah.
Now, when you got smacked by the guy, I would have instantly thought, boy, the feature really did it right. Just go ahead and go to autopilot.
Yeah, he did. He did the best play, but I couldn't do it. And I was still drinking.
I couldn't do it either. I would have said something immediately.
I mean, it was blatant. It wasn't, he was inches off the stage, and the stage was so low. I mean, it's almost just right there. His head's right there facing back.
And you were in arm's reach to get a smack.
Oh yeah. I leaned in a little bit, like pointing at him, and that's when I caught it across the ear.
Oh my God.
Oh, he hit me pretty good.
And you just stood there. You didn't do it. You did basically what Chris Rock did. You didn't move.
Didn't move, took it, and I'm sure I was stunned for a second. And then he was stunned, like, is this a fight or what is this? And then I was just like, you motherfucker, and just started cursing, berating him. And then it was chaos. And then a bouncer comes and to get him out. Then I'm screaming at people. I don't know how I stood on stage. I don't know what I was saying. I'm sure.
It's impressive that you rotated to hold another crowd in. That must have been fun when they all moved up. Like, all right, cool. We get a new spot. And then did you just start, like over again?
Yeah, we started. I hadn't done much, but I hadn't burned many jokes. And all my whole set. So I did like.
Great.
Wait till I pull out this butt to butt joke, guys. You're gonna love it.
They love the butt bumping bit, They would have, dude. And I was like, oh, I've won fans,
Nice.
You think those people have already forgotten about that? I'm like, you would think I would have made an imprint. They'd be following me to gigs, and like they don't.
When the glass broke, you said the guys came up. They weren't coming after you, were they?
When the glass, no, they were coming. They were like a guy's like it hit a guy's wife, a couple big dudes in the back. So I just saw guys stand up.
Yeah,
bro, they started to come. Now
but they're going after the guy that threw it, though, right? Okay, yeah. Good. Okay, I didn't want you to have to take that power pain too. Like,
yeah. They were on my side, and they were like, "We got your back. If you want us to talk to the cops, we'll talk." There were a lot of they were really good people in the back, so. It was like probably, I don't know, 20, 30 of them. So they were like, if they had actually done something, we would have stepped in. I'm like, I did get slapped at the beginning.
Yeah,
of that.
I was going to say.
That happened real fast, though. They don't have time to.
But we were just getting our nachos, so we didn't want them to get cold.
Well, sometimes you haven't proven yourself yet. The first second you got slapped, they didn't know if they liked you, wanted to defend you. 10 minutes in, I guess.
Yeah.
After, we feel for this guy.
Like they save you, and then you just start doing cheesy impressions. They're like, "Oh no!" Thought this guy was gonna be telling jokes about coffee.
I thought the first bit was like when you said about Birmingham, but this is so much worse.
Yeah, but Birmingham was bad because it looks like a great gig. The stage, the lights. There's 400 people, so you walk in with high hopes, and that's what hurt more. When you walked into Charleston, West Virginia, you're like, this shit could come apart.
No, yeah. Christmas party, there's already signs that it could be rough.
But like 400 people in a nice small theater, and then all of a sudden it's just quiet and there's noise and weird heckling that fits a one-nighter. It's really in a stage with a 50-foot backdrop. That's like a lot more I couldn't process. A little bar gig and someone's yelling, that sort of matches up. But so the Birmingham was more, I don't know. That one took a minute,
Your show that we did together, because you finally came back to Minneapolis, was boring because you just sold it out, crushed. Everyone had a good time. I was just like, oh, this isn't classic Paul. Someone's supposed to throw something. But no, you're fantastic. I don't know. You're pretty much nonstop.
By the way, setting that up, that's all Tommy Ryman right there, setting up that gig for me. That was perfect.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but that was me. I'm Paul's agent.
Man, that was
Minneapolis area.
You got me back to Minneapolis. I miss coming up there, and then I didn't know. And then Sisyphus, that was awesome. 2 sold out shows. It's pretty great, Tommy Ryman. That's
so okay. So you just told us the story about the guy hitting you. You said there was a woman that hit you. I don't know why I want to hear all these, because comics love to commiserate on this kind of stuff.
I know you don't want to hear the Minneapolis good.
I just reiterate that, like, if you go to a show, don't get your hopes up that Paul's just gonna get hit a bunch of times. Like, you might be disappointed and he'll just do jokes. But that's why it's nice to hear about the times.
I think the 2000s from like 99 through 06, when I quit drinking, it was a lot of that. And that's when the other one with a woman slapped me was in Norfolk, and that one wasn't as bad. It's not as crazy. I leaned in to say something, and I think she was turned away. She was chatting towards people at the table, and I'm like, hey, I'm sure I got chewed her ass about something, like, why are you not paying attention? And she turned back, and I was like a foot from her face, and she's like, oh shit, and slapped me. And then
that was a
I'm
startled
sorry
reaction.
Yeah, she's like, I'm sorry, but I didn't know you were right there behind me. So she was here too, but she was apologetic. So that's not as crazy. It hurt though.
You're like, that one hurt too. Most of them hurt.
Oh, that reminds me of another story where I could have been killed.
What's that?
My home club in Charlotte, like, they've had 2 or 3 different clubs. So the second one they opened, they had some brilliant idea where when people under the black lights of the room, instead of people trying to get the waitress's attention and yelling, I need a drink or whatever, they're like, we'll come up. We get these wooden blocks that are painted pastel green, and they'll stand them up on their table, and you can see it under the black lights. But you gave every audience member a piece of wood. I got into it with some woman, dude, and I didn't even see it coming. She was yelling at me, and I felt the wind go past my face, and it hit the backdrop like a gun. I mean, she threw it like a fastball. I mean, she threw it as hard, but missed my eye by an inch and just hit it.
Wow.
And they're like, I mean, they threw her out. She was screaming. I mean, I would be missing an eye for sure.
But she was just trying to order a drink.
Yeah.
Why did you kick her out? Clearly, she just wanted service.
I'm sorry. Unprofessional. I know. I need to be more.
No, I don't think it's good when the club hands out weapons to the audience or things that are like, this will be great to just chuck at a comedian's head.
Yeah, it's happened down south, man. That's great. All this stuff has seemed to be down south. It was all down south.
It's because they're creative down there. They're like, hey, what can we make our life easier? How about black wood painted green?
Comedians can try to survive it. I know.
Oh
so
God.
First gigs down here.
The only thing that's ever happened to me, I got picked up physically by a woman after a show once, because I used to do a joke about, like, I weighed 113 pounds. She's like, you really weigh 130 pounds? And then she just lifted me up, and I was just like out in front of the club, just being held up by a 45-year-old woman. And I was like, well, this is okay. It was a little emasculating, but that was, and then she sat me back down, and I walked in and I asked, I was like, I need to get security. And they're like, why? And they're like, people are just lifting me up off the ground. I could get kidnapped out there.
Tommy, I've apologized several times for that. My mom just loves you.
She's so strong.
We like to do pet of the week. We call it dog of the week.
This is the dog of the week.
we do a lot of other animals too, and we still call him Dog of the Week. So Paul was nice enough to send in his pet.
Paul has a cat named Pearl.
The Mighty Pearl.
The Mighty Pearl.
Watching
watching Bob Ross.
Yeah. This is the most serene. I'm like, Paul doesn't get into fights a lot, and I'm like, how could you ever if your life is just staring at a cat watching Bob Ross? It just seems super zen.
The other eye, the polar opposite now, just super boring. That is what I do. I put it on for her. And it's for me too. Of soothing. Bob Ross on mute, even better.
Yeah.
You know.
Now I was fully expecting that to be a pure white cat named Pearl. How the heck do you get a Pearl out of a black and white cat?
I don't know. I just wanted sort of I was thinking we were trying to come up with names years ago, and I wanted like an English woman's name, like a sort of Pearl, like an Agnes, Agatha. We kept the name, and I don't even know if would be an old English lady's name, but Pearl sort of fit. It just sounded, I don't know if the word's regal, but her coloring, but
Queen Pearl
fits her disposition.
And how long have you had Pearl?
9 years. She's in New York. She started in New York with me. And then I didn't even want a cat. So it was like my roommate at the time was a comic, and his girlfriend broken up with him. And, New York City apartment, we started to see mice. So he's like, we got to cheer up this place and get these mice, and let's get a cat. And I'm like, well, all right, man. And then on the way to the shelter, I'm just like, dude, we're not going to live together forever. Whose cat is this?
Yeah, you gotta.
Like, you worry too much, bro. You worry too much. And then I was like, man, sure enough, he moved back. He made up with that girlfriend. Now they're married with 2 kids. I got this cat.
See?
Yeah.
Did you have more pictures of it, Tommy, or was that it?
Just those 2.
Okay, that's Dog of the Week. Yay.
This has been another episode of Little Tom Foolery. I hope you enjoyed it. Paul Hooper is such a fun comedian, so I was so glad he could join us. And thank you so much for everybody that's been listening to the podcast. We're well over 50 episodes now. You can find us on YouTube. We really want to get more subscribers on that. And you like and share, subscribe. And if you have if you want to join our Patreon, please do that. You get a lot of bonuses and cool stuff. My mom's a Patreon member, so if you want to be like my mom, you should do it. If you have any other questions, you can always visit littletomfoolery.com. But this has been another episode of Little Tom Foolery. I'm Tommy Ryman. That's Rob Little. Bye, fools. Bye-bye.